Good morning.
Hi, morning, Nick. It's obvious when you look at the Sky. On Sky, they were saying that there was emails sent from Epstein to, I think it was Mandelson's partner, Ronaldo.
Da Silva, yes, partner now. He was a partner then, his husband now, yep.
Yeah, so they paid him the money. I mean, it's clearly obvious that he won't have any direct connection with this payment for whatever he's going to get in return. It's been paid to his partner instead of Mandelson having to maybe provide an allowance to him or whatever, and it's just been circumvented via the back door. If it happened to me or you, it's as plain as day and black and white that, you've just diverted the money in a way that you don't want to try and be connected to it, but it's clearly obvious it is you.
I mean, you're absolutely right. He was one of the architects of the new Labour Party, but his house has come crashing down around him now. He always seems to have had this fatal fascination with people with lots of money, doesn't he?
Well, I don't think it's just him. I think it's every politician. I think it's every person in that sort of position, whether you're in business, power, or whatever. But to make it as blatantly obvious as that, it just becomes like, are they that crass? Are they that, rather, bravado-ish and, cocky that they think, we can do it like this and no one's going to know. Although it's just like, it's so plain as day what he's done. And when he's saying he can't recall it, he can't remember it, well, he can't remember his partner receiving. It's like you're not knowing your wife. Oh, did you get £75,000 in your account for something?
And we never discuss. And it's not one of those things that sort of sticks out on the radar because we regularly have billionaires paying £75,000 into her account. Sarit, thank you. Have a good day.
Gareth is in Birmingham. Gareth, you can have a go answering a question I've barely asked.
Morning, James.
Hello,
how you
mate.
doing?
I'm all right, but I'm uncomfortable and confused. But
Yeah,
I mean, beyond disgusted, obviously, horrified, all of that. But these, Musk essentially put his own man in the White House last year. And yet, after Jeffrey Epstein was jailed, he's asking about parties. And anyway, what have you learned?
I suppose I've learned a couple of things. One is that power, if that's your need and for acquisition is power, it becomes very boring. In the same way that you can get into a particular job and after a while the job is boring and you want more. I think for powerful people like Elon Musk, for Trump, they attain the power they want and then it's a steady. They've got it. It's boring. There's nothing to acquire anymore. So you go a level further. And for Trump, he started that in his first presidency, but he had people around him to kind of keep him on the guardrails. But then he got rid of them. And in the second term, now I can do whatever I want with impunity. And I think similarly, you'll worry about, how do people find out that somebody will be up for coming to the island? People fish, corrupt people fish. And by that, what I mean is conversationally, they'll bring up something that's a bit inappropriate. Do you react? Do you say anything? Do you say you're abhorred by what they're saying?
Yeah.
If you don't say anything, they'll say something a bit darker. Do you react? If you don't, that you're telling them that you're okay with what they're talking about. That's how they start to fish. Because I would say it's the same with recreational drug use. Even if it's just smoking, marijuana, someone will fish and maybe ask to find you're similarly minded,
And yeah, okay, like sounding out, a sort of Just waiting to see what reaction you get. Racism, maybe as well. You'd sort of say something a bit low level, waiting to see.
Yeah,
misogyny, racism, all the usual things.
Racist joke, anti-Semitic joke. Does everyone laugh? Does anyone feel a bit uncomfortable? No one feels uncomfortable. How much further can I take this? What can I say next? Can I shock them, or are they part of my gang?
I like this analysis. I mean, like is an odd word to use, but you know what I mean. What about this thing I can't get past? The 2008 conviction, and this, it's after that conviction that people like Mandelson and Andrew Windsor and almost all the rest of them are still consorting. How did that? Here's a question. I don't know if anyone can answer this, but you can go first. How did that conviction not shut him down forever?
I think because power and money. That could outweigh everything. That was enough to get him off, get the sentence turned into a more lenient sentence, make arrangements with Howard Lutnick, get deals here and there. There are other people who want favours who you might be helpful to in the future. I think that's what it's all about.
And the stuff that we the stuff that was not that hasn't been released, you can't really blame anybody for speculating almost unimaginable things must be in there, because what they've released is incredible. The stuff they've decided not to release. So you mentioned Howard Lutnick planning a visit to the island years after he claimed to have cut ties with the convicted paedophile. He's the Commerce Department secretary. He's the sycophant in chief at Trump's cabinet meetings. He's the guy who sits there saying, on a scale of 1 to 10, Mr. President, would you agree that you deserve a 12 for your good looks and intelligence? And he's there. He's up to his elbows. He's up to his ears in Epstein associations. Years after he claimed to have cut... I don't know. Do we sound naive? Do I sound naive? Are you sitting there thinking, oh, bless him, but does he not realise this is why he keeps thinking about Henry VIII? Because men have been behaving in this way throughout the ages. And to think that guardrails or laws or authorities or conscience or morals will ever put any sort of brake on these people is just naive and idealistic. I don't know. It's 10:30. Thank you, Gareth.
Neil in Croydon, let's talk now. Your view on Lord Mandelson in the wake of stories that broke last night. He's quit the Labour Party. Morning.
I think he's quit the Labour Party because the least he could do. He should have quit the Labour Party years ago. He's a disgrace and he should be fired. He should be fired from the House of Lords, along with that Michelle Mone. I mean, what's this all about? She's taken £120 million from the taxpayer, not had to pay for... These people are meant to make our laws.
They are our lawmakers, absolutely.
And they're still in place. Nothing's happened about them. Yet we're meant to be worrying about China. Xi wasn't on the Epstein files, was he?
He wasn't.
No, exactly. This is nonsense. It's happening right under our noses and nothing is happening about it. And we're just to sit around and take it. I'm having to borrow today some money from a friend of mine to pay some council tax, because if I don't pay council tax, I could potentially get put in prison. And these people are milking millions from us.
Do you know if your friend is going to make you 3 settlements of $25,000 each and you're likely to forget about them? Because that's what Lord Mandelson reportedly did.
No, I could only wish, but that is not going to happen, and it's just outrageous. And apparently he took money, or his partner took money as well. I think £10,000 or £15,000.
Well, it was the payments that were then his partner, now his husband. That's where Epstein's money went first. Neil, I'm sorry, the financial straits. I hope you get yourself through. Well done for paying the tax, because you don't want to fall behind on things like that, and we will continue that conversation, Neil. I hope it goes as well as it can.
Laurie's in Finsbury Park. Laurie, what would you like to say?
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. Well, I mean, relatively speaking.
So what I was calling to say is I wanted to zoom in on something that you said a few minutes earlier, when you brought up Henry VIII, and you said that maybe are women surprised by this? Is this on some level what men are like? And that made my hair stand on, because that is a sentiment that I've heard again and again over years of researching this, talking to hundreds and hundreds of men about this, and that, I think, that suspicion, which is very, very natural, it runs sort of subcutaneous under all these assumptions, that idea that maybe this is just, there's something in men that does this. That is the point. The point is to create a sort of complicity, to make men of whatever social standing feel that they have more in common with the monsters who are doing this than they do with the victims.
I sit here, first of all, taking the mickey out of men who signed up for the not all men thing. And then as soon as you started down this conversation, down this point, I found myself thinking, but I know I'm not like that. But this is what you were addressing. It's why, for once, it's a good job I stayed quiet and let you make your point. Is it deliberate? I mean, is it part of the process of almost gaslighting populations to make men think that this is how men behave when it isn't?
I think complicity is an incredibly powerful political tool. And you saw that with Me Too. You saw that around Harvey Weinstein.
Yes.
And you see that with this, I think. Complicity, the idea that you give people something in common, something to defend, an idea, and it's shame. It's complicity and it's shame. And but you also brought up that awful quote just before the 2016 election, you grab them by whatever you like. But actually the bit the bit of that quote that people miss out now, the bit that shocked everyone, was when you're a star, they let you do it. And and I think the world at that point divided into people who thought, people who thought that, there's no way he could possibly get elected now, and people who voted for him, not despite it, but because of it. Yeah. People who heard that and thought, well, that's the kind of guy we want. That's the kind of guy I'd like to have something in common with. That's what power is. You can do whatever you want and you'll never be held accountable. I think that's what it's about.
Why do women vote for him?
There have always been women who have sided with patriarchy and voted for power and picked power above solidarity with other women. Sometimes, that's the safe thing to do. Sometimes that's what seems sensible. And there are right-wing women right now. There have been women involved in every far-right movement in history. That doesn't mean that it's not a tool of patriarchy. You see what I mean? So
I do see what you mean. And briefly, because I'm going to be late for the news, and I don't think I'm going to apologise for this question, but it might be a little bit glib. Why has the world not stopped?
I think the world has not stopped because we're still deciding whether or not this is a moral event horizon. There is an idea out there that some men are simply too big to fail.
Yeah.
And I think culture is deciding, again, like whether or not a bank is too big to fail. Can we take the hit?
Wow. That's brilliant. Where can people read more of your work?
Oh, I'm on Substack at the moment, sorry.
Okay, no, that's all right. Do you want to push people in that direction? Or not? You don't have to.
No, thank you, sorry.
Okay, I'd like to. Will you stay on the line and tell Johnny so that I can read more of it as well? I don't know that any man has ever turned down the opportunity to have a free boost of their thoughts and works on this programme. Make of that what you will, Laurie. And I hope you don't mind me pointing it out, but you're obviously brilliant. I mean, that was an insight of extraordinary power, just that we're waiting to see whether or not it's an event horizon. And if it isn't, what do? We just... It's why that point, unfair though it is on King Charles, of course, if Andrew had not been the spare, if he'd been the heir, would this have happened? Would the machinery of the establishment have permitted, the abdication of the Duke of Windsor notwithstanding, would it actually... we'll never know.
Katie's in Bushy to talk about Keir Starmer aspect of the Lord Mandelson story. What is it you want to say about the Labour leader? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. I hope you're well. It's lovely to speak to you.
Thank you.
I wanted to just point out that we are forgetting about a proportion of people here, and that is the victims of Epstein and any sexual crimes. So the point I wanted to make is why is that Keir and his party are very quick to say that Epstein and his rich friends and associates, their victims deserve justice. But when it comes to British girls and women who were victims of similar crimes from Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs in England, you can almost hear the tumbleweed blowing across the chamber of the House of Commons.
What do you think, what would you want to see the Prime Minister do in either one of those two areas?
Well, I want him to take a firmer stance and action. I think people want to see action. We've heard nothing about the inquiry getting underway. We've got victims who say they don't trust Parliament. They don't trust the people involved, the MPs, Jess Phillips and others. And it seems like everyone's quick to bang on, the victims of Epstein, the victims of Epstein. What about the British girls that were victims as well?
Well said, Katie, something we must not lose sight of. Well done for reminding us all.
Neil's in Nottingham. Neil, what would you like to say?
Hi, James. I think in terms of my main comment, I'd separate it out from the, if you like, the web of, let's say, rich men and influential men, because I can, on one level, understand Epstein's desire, if you like, to cast his net as widely as possible and incorporate people into it. The thing it says to me, though, is it just underlines in treble, if not quadruple, just how low American democracy has now sunk to.
Why do you say that? Because of everything that's going on around these revelations?
Because it's almost...
Because this stuff has been going on since, for as long as humanity's been around.
Which is why I said, from the point of view of somebody, if you like, wanting to cultivate a network of rich and powerful and influential people.
Is Steve Bannon conducting that? Is Steve Bannon conducting that interview? I should have mentioned that, but nobody knows why, is the point that I'm making. And Steve Bannon, of course, this is long after the conviction for soliciting a child for prostitution was being feted all over the place and propelling Donald Trump into the White House. You can't. It's too big, isn't it, Neil? It's too big to get a proper bead on or to get a handle on.
Yeah, well, yes, on one level it is, but it still comes back, to my mind, to this point that it just shows how absolutely low and how perverted American democracy now is. If you cast your mind back to 2016 in this country, when that original tape came to public about the grabbing and all the rest of it, everyone in this country, I think, at that stage took a sharp intake of breath and thought, that's it, it's over. But it wasn't, and it's continued in a similar vein. It's just got worse and worse and worse on every single level. That our whole frame of reference has shifted to the extent now that we can now have a situation where an American president implicated in this, never mind, if you like, which bits he may and may not have done and all the rest of it, the thought that an American president would still be in power in this situation is now normalised. I mean, in the UK, if you like, bad as we are and much as we can criticise elements, the fact of the matter is Prince Andrew is no longer Prince Andrew, and Peter Mandelson has had to resign yet again. Yeah. But that compared to America, if you like, is nothing. That's in the UK. Boris had to resign, well, for lots of reasons, but let's say COVID parties were
they're all very quiet, aren't they? The Donald Trump cheerleaders in the UK media.
Nothing. They're not even first tier.
Well, you say. I mean, we don't know that. And what if? I mean, God forbid, Andrew had actually been king. Would the same machines have operated? With the same process of being gone through? You know, it's an accident at birth that made him second in line to the throne for his entire child, well, until Prince William was born. But do you know what I mean? He is disposable, whereas had he been one notch higher up the ladder, he wouldn't have been. And the what am I talking about? The engines of the establishment might have moved to protect him in the way that they moved to protect people in the United States.
I still remain convinced at the moment, though, that our rule of law does at least still stand for something. In America, it stands for nothing. The only reason these files have been released in the first place is because there was an act of law passed in America. Then the act wasn't met. It's still not being met, and Trump is in the position probably where he can and will say to Pam Bondi, supposedly his independent attorney general, I don't want any more released, and anything that is released, I want it to be taken down within 24 hours and redacted in the following way.
Right, which is unbelievable. I mean, I can understand why British newspapers are going after Mandelson and Andrew Windsor, but I read one newspaper that essentially just repeated Donald Trump's claims that he'd been absolved of all wrongdoing without referencing the allegations that involved an awful lot of alleged wrongdoing. 50% of the Epstein files have still to be released, which means they're simply not complying with the law. Robert Garcia is a Democratic ranking member on the House Oversight Committee, and he said, Donald Trump and his Department of Justice have now made it clear that they intend to withhold roughly 50% of the Epstein files while claiming to have fully complied with the law. This is outrageous and incredibly concerning. The Oversight Committee subpoena directs Pam Bondi to release all the files to the committee while protecting survivors. And nobody is even pretending that they've done that. This is, I think, what you're speaking to when you say the decline, the measurable, the visible decline of what we would once have described as American democracy.
I guess the next question then is, well, so if you like, so what? What's going to happen? He's in breach of the law. So what? Who's going to enforce it and how? The answer is nobody is, because he's going to ignore it, and his government departments, which hitherto are supposedly independent, operating on behalf of the country, are all going to toe the line and do whatever he says. That's where American democracy now is. He can choose to disobey any law that he wants to, and even the ones that finally probably end up in the Supreme Court. We can see that there's a large likelihood that they're going to go his way. He's corrupted American democracy to such an
so
extent
completely
that this has become
that it can't
almost
handle this
normalised.
crisis. Yes,
Yes.
I mean
Yes.
there's a paragraph in the article I was reading that does mention the thing I was just alluding to. This is in the Daily Telegraph. Some documents detailing graphic allegations against Mr. Trump, and if you haven't seen his allegations, I'd almost urge you not to look them up because it's unbelievably hideous. They were released before being briefly removed from the DOJ website later on Friday. I thank you, Neil.